What's going on, guys? Just wanted to hop in here real quick before we get into this draft profile. Me and Eric have been dropping draft profile videos over on our new NBA Uprise channel. We're primarily going to be uploading draft profiles over there. We might upload some other just general NBA content, but we're going to try and do 60 draft profiles before next month's NBA draft. We're going to drop a few over here. This Saddiq Bey one is right here, but most of them will be over on that other channel. So I would greatly appreciate it if you went and subscribed to that channel. There's a link in the top of the description below. It would help me out a bunch, and we're gonna get you guys some more really good draft profiles. I'm really happy with these videos, and I hope you guys enjoy. So with that being said, I'm out of here. Peace out. Go Blazers. Saddiq Bey is yet another Villanova wing set to make the jump to the next level. The 21-year-old 6'8" small forward is projected to go in the draft lottery, but could be available with the Portland Trail Blazers' 16th overall pick. During his second season in college, Saddiq Bey doubled his scoring output as he averaged 8.2 points per game his freshman year and 16.1 points per game in his sophomore season. He was also one of the best three-point shooters in college last season, shooting a whopping 45%. Bey is the ideal 3-and-D wing for an NBA team. His three-point shooting should translate well to the next level, and he should be able to space the floor as a catch-and-shoot threat. He can also knock down threes off the dribble from time to time. Bey is a versatile defender who projects to be able to guard shooting guards, small forwards, and power forwards at the next level. He projects positively on the defensive end, especially as a team defender, and he has the potential to be a lockdown one-on-one defender as well. Bey is a solid passer, and he does have some sneaky playmaking potential. At the very least, he's a guy who can make the right pass and should be able to fit into an offensive system that emphasizes ball movement. Bey also has a high motor. He's a player that gives it his all and hustles extremely hard. He gives the type of effort that should make him a fan favorite wherever he lands. And he also has a high IQ. He is an all-around smart player. While most rookies aren't ready to make an impact at the NBA level right away, Bey is a smart enough player to be able to fit in seamlessly without looking like a rookie. He also has some potential as a secondary ball handler. His ball handling will definitely need some work in order to fill this role, but in the best case projection, Bey is a guy who can handle the ball a bit, make plays for others, on top of his 3-and-D ability. Now, the main knock on Saddiq Bey is he was a bit too passive at times in college. This shouldn't be too much of a problem in the NBA as he projects to be simply a role player, but if he's to reach his upside, he definitely needs to be a little bit more aggressive offensively than he was in college. Bey is also limited athletically. He doesn't have a great first step, and he does overstride. He's also not explosive around the rim, which could be an issue when attacking bigger NBA rim protectors. His ability to score in traffic is just all around lackluster. Now, this could be helped due to more spacing in the NBA compared to the college game, but this is definitely an area he struggled in at Villanova. And on the defensive end, Bey should definitely be a solid NBA defender, but he did have low steal and block numbers in college. The top defensive players in the league play sound defense on top of making things happen defensively, whether that's rotating over and blocking shots, or playing the passing lanes, getting steals, and forcing runouts the other way. Bey didn't do much of this in college, and his defensive potential might be capped if he can't become more of a defensive playmaker in the NBA. He also wasn't a particularly good rebounder in college, averaging less than 5 rebounds per game, even though he played almost 34 minutes. If he can't improve in this area, then that'll hurt his productivity if he's used as a small ball 4. And lastly, there are questions about his long-term upside given his lack of athleticism. His ceiling might be one of a 3-and-D player who doesn't really do much off the dribble, doesn't make plays defensively, and isn't much of a passer. If that truly is his long-term upside, then it's hard to justify using a top 10 pick on Saddiq Bey. So now it's time to get Eric Brandt's thoughts on Saddiq Bey, and I am very excited to film this part of this video because Saddiq Bey Eric absolutely loves him. Eric is extremely high on Saddiq Bey, has him ranked 6th on his big board. I am a little bit lower, I have him ranked 12th. You know, I like him as a player, but not quite as much as Eric, so I am ready for a little bit of a debate in this segment. We've agreed on a number of prospects before this, now I'm ready to maybe argue a little bit. And maybe, you know, we'll get Eric's perspective on things and why he thinks Saddiq Bey has a very high upside, and then I will give my perspective on that. So I'm going to let Eric just go straight in on Saddiq Bey. I'll let him talk for however long he wants. I just want to hear this. Eric, why are you so high on Saddiq Bey?
So I have 2 draft crushes that are major draft crushes, and he's 1A. We'll get to 1B later on. But I just think if you were to make a 3-and-D forward in the lab, Saddiq Bey would be what comes out if you try to design the perfect player. And I don't think he has many weaknesses. I think he is super smart. I think his athleticism is a little, or lack thereof, is a little overblown. And I just love the way he talks about basketball, the way he develops his game, the way he talks about his game. I just think he's one of those guys who, you know, he's 21, and like I said, people talk about his lack of athleticism and stuff like that. He does have a bit of a slow first step, which will prevent him from being like a super scorer, like a 25-plus point per game scorer in the NBA. But I think other than that, there just isn't many flaws to his game.
Yeah, for me, he just screams like he'll be a role player. And maybe he can be like a Robert Covington type of guy, but that to me is pretty much his ceiling. So if that's a player's ceiling, I can't have him, you know, where you have him. So what sets him apart from a guy like a Robert Covington for you?
Well, to me, Covington's more of in theory, he should be a lot better than he is because he hasn't really shot well in recent years. But I think Saddiq Bey has really nice form. I think it's going to translate to the NBA. He's got the ability to post up smaller players. He can guard several positions like Covington can. He often drew the toughest assignment on the perimeter for Villanova, and that included some really good guards in the Big East. And I just like his ability at all 3 levels. He knows when to cut. He's really smart. I just like his ability to score and his overall game better than a guy like Covington.
Yeah, I mean, he should end up being a better NBA three-point shooter than Robert Covington is. Probably not the same caliber of defender, but he has a chance. Saddiq Bey is a good defender. The thing is with him, though, is outside of just being able to knock down threes as well as defend, I'm not that high on him. He showed the ability to do stuff off the dribble in college, but I don't think it really translates to the NBA level due to, as you've stated, his lack of athleticism. But then also he's not a guy that seems to really want to attack the rim. That's kind of the feeling I got from watching him. Is there were times where he got his shoulders past the defender guarding him, and instead of attacking the rim and finishing strong, he slowed down his drive for like a spin back fall away. You know what I mean? So I have major question marks about him being able to get by defenders at the NBA level. But if in college he wasn't a guy that really wanted to get all the way to the rim when he did, is he going to want to be able to do that in the NBA? I thought there was a lot of times he could have gotten an easy layup or an easy dunk in college, and he turned it into a tougher shot, maybe like veering into a guy and bouncing off for a floater or a turnaround fade or that type of thing. I don't think that's really going to change in the NBA. I guess you could look at it as like, okay, that's a mental thing that if he overcame, then he could be a really good slasher, but I don't know. I don't know if it's just him not being confident in his athleticism around the rim. I don't know if it's him knowing he's not super creative in terms of his finishing around the rim. That's another big thing. I don't think he's super creative, and he's not the bounciest athlete around the rim, so I do have questions about him being able to finish against elite NBA rim protectors. That's kind of where I am not super high on his shot creation ability.
I couldn't disagree more. I felt like he does attack the rim. He's a great slasher. I think he's going to be an excellent slasher in the NBA. I watched a ton of Villanova games, and I feel like he does attack the rim a lot. But even if he is more like what you're saying, and with his lack of a first step, he's going to need to be able to shoot those mid-range turnarounds, jumpers over NBA defenders. So he's not going to be able to get to the rim if his athleticism doesn't translate to the NBA. So I feel like those are more like NBA level shots that he'll have to take in the NBA. But yeah, that's just how I feel.
I feel like in order to be like an all-star caliber player, you have to be able to consistently get to the rim and finish around NBA bigs as well as shoot the three. Saddiq Bey will be able to shoot the three. I'm just not super high on his ability to get by people and then finish against NBA bigs around the rim. You said he does attack, but what I noticed is the situations he did attack was when he had a pretty much straight line drive. You know, it was off of the catch, off ball movement without a defender in front of him. He did have flashes where he attacked a guy one-on-one off the dribble, but that's the one part of his game. With a defender set in front of him attacking him off the dribble, that's the one part of his game that I'm not high on and I think limits his upside, and I think that's where we disagree the most on Saddiq Bey.
Yeah, I just he showed huge improvement between his freshman and sophomore year. And just listening to him talk and do interviews and stuff, it's obvious that he works really hard and has a really strong work ethic. Most of the recent Villanova players have been very smart and ready to play pretty much immediately in the NBA. And you just combine the fact that he had good coaching and he seems pretty smart and he has a good work ethic. I just really like those type of combinations. And then you add the fact that he's 6'8", with a almost 7-foot wingspan and can knock down threes. I just love the guy, man.
Yeah, I mean, if he can improve his ball handling and improve his slashing ability, then I wouldn't be shocked if he became a Chris Middleton type of guy if he was able to really work on those two aspects of his game. I don't think it'll happen. That's why I have him 12th. But you look at kind of the way Chris Middleton was looked at coming into the NBA and then the way he's developed, I see some similarities in their games in terms of neither of them are the quickest player. Both of them are really good three-point shooters. Both of them are very solid defenders. And then Chris Middleton has some playmaking, some passing ability. I do think that is something that's a little overlooked with Bey. I do like him as a guy that makes the right pass. It's just like, okay.
He does. He does have some hidden playmaking ability.
Yeah, it's just, is he going to be like a Chris Middleton type where he's getting almost 6 assists a game or whatever? So that's the thing. Chris Middleton ended up in a good. I mean, you never looked at Milwaukee as being like a good system until like the past 3-4 years, but they've developed talent well the past 3 or 4 years, and I feel like Chris Middleton has taken a leap the past couple and turned into an all-star player. So I think that is kind of like his highest ceiling is like a Chris Middleton type, and if you think he can reach that ceiling, then I can understand why you would have him 6th. I just don't think it's quite as likely, and I think it's more likely that he just becomes a guy that shoots maybe 38-39% from 3 and defends well, which is a solid player. He has a pretty high floor, but it just doesn't provide that level of upside that I'm looking for in taking a guy in the top 10 in this draft.
Yeah, I think worst case scenario, he'd be like a Trevor Ariza type where just a solid player all around. Like we talked about this with Killian Hayes, where there's not like an elite skill, but he's solid 3-point shooter, he's solid defender and all that stuff, can dribble the ball a little bit. So I think that's his floor, and I really like his ability to just be a rotational piece right away for a team. But I also feel like he still is growing. I mean, this is a guy who freshman year in high school, he was only 5'8", so he's grown a foot since then. It's not that long ago. So he's still kind of learning how to be big and play basketball as a big body versus a tiny point guard. But you look at guys who slip in the drafts, and it's usually either a guy like Giannis, he's like incredibly raw, but you can obviously tell he's athletically gifted. It's just a matter if that will ever translate to the NBA game or if he can ever figure out how to work work it out. And then you see guys like Saddiq Bey, who will probably drop because of the reasons you're saying, where people don't think he has the athleticism to make it on the next level. And I feel like, you mentioned Chris Middleton. I'd bring up guys like Jimmy Butler, who even Paul Pierce, like he went 10th in that draft. Like I thought that was like teams were stupid for passing on him, but he had some of the same things, like, oh, he's too slow to score like he did in Kansas in the NBA. But like, I just feel like we're going to look back on this draft and be like, man, how did Saddiq Bey go like outside the top 10? I think that's one of the questions we're going to ask like some of those other players I mentioned.
Yeah, let me say this. I do think when all is said and done, he will be a top 10 player from his draft class. Now, people watching this video might say, okay, then why do you have him ranked 12th? I would just I'd rather gamble on upside around 8th, 9th, 10th, and I think there's players with a higher upside with a lower floor, So, I mean, I'll probably have a guy, I don't remember my big board off the top of my head, but guys 8th, 9th, and 10th could be huge boomer bust players. And honestly, like 2 of those 3 probably won't be better than Saddiq Bey, but that one who is, will reach a higher level of upside. So it is a conversation weighing upside versus floor. NBA ready, should be a good NBA role player compared to a lottery ticket. So, I mean, I do think he will be a top 10 player, but I would rather gamble on a more elite upside. I
mean, I know you kind of disagree with this, but I feel like his upside is kind of being diminished for some reason. And I feel like I mentioned, he doesn't really have many weaknesses in his game. So I kind of think that like he still has upside to be, I don't know, like a really quality starter in this league.
Mm-hmm. We will come back and see who is right here. He would be a good pickup for the Portland Trailblazers, for our Blazers. I would like the pick for sure if he fell to 16 and he could be a good role player off the bat for the Portland Trailblazers. But he could make a difference for, if Boston has Memphis's pick this year, if they could trade up and get him, he would fit in perfectly to the type of wings they like to have. He could be a difference maker in the playoffs next year as a rookie. There's not many guys that I could say that about, but Saddiq Bey is one of them. But it's just not quite as high on the upside as you. So anyway, thank you guys for watching this draft profile. We have other draft profiles that are being uploaded over on NBA Uprise. We're going to be releasing a few over here on Blazers Uprise. But make sure you go to NBA Uprise and subscribe so you can get more draft profiles. And with that, that's a wrap for this video. I'll catch you guys later. As always, peace out. Go Blazers.